CBS This Morning in Focus is the original reporting you'll see only on this broadcast, exposing new information on issues that impact us all. So today we're hearing from a Louisiana man who spent 17 years behind bars simply because he looked like a serial robber. Erin Moriarty shows us how this case clearly illustrates why eyewitness testimony, once considered the gold standard of evidence, results in so many wrongful convictions. Good morning, Erin. Sounds like 17 years are wrong.
Oh, this is such a scary story. Good morning. Of those who've been exonerated by DNA evidence, nearly 3/4 of them were convicted in the first place because of faulty eyewitness testimony. What happened to Royal Clark Jr., you will understand why.
I could never imagine going home. I thought I was gonna die up there.
Royal Clark was 24 years old when he was charged and later convicted of an armed robbery at this Burger King in November 2001 in Terrytown, Louisiana. Did you rob that Burger King?
Man, I ain't must know where that Burger King was.
The assailant used a cup seen in this crime scene photo and left fingerprints, but the prints were determined to be unusable. 3 Burger King employees picked Clark from a photo lineup, but by trial, only one of them, a 19-year-old, was sure. What does that feel like when you know you weren't there and this witness is saying it looks like him?
Like everything shut down at that moment. Everything got quiet.
The witness, who was the same race as the robber and got a good look at him, convinced the jurors. Royal Clark was convicted and sentenced to 49.5 years. What was your reaction when you heard the sentence?
Man, I wanted to pass out. At the same time, I wanted to lash out.
Clark's appeals were denied, and his newborn son grew up without him. How old was your son when you went in?
Man, my son was like a month.
A month old when you were incarcerated.
Taking care of him from the diapers to the clothes to the books, educating him, reading to him, explaining to him life.
You missed all of that.
I missed all of that.
And then in 2018, Innocence Project New Orleans took his case. Attorney Kia Hayes hoped for DNA testing of that cup, but investigators never collected it. There were only those unusable fingerprints.
We thought, well, wait a minute, maybe we can reanalyze the prints and see if that can find the actual perpetrator.
My reaction is, do it. I wanted to know.
District Attorney Paul Connick's office convicted Royal Clark, but he agreed to have the Sheriff's Department Crime Lab reanalyze the prints.
There was a hit.
And it wasn't Royal Clark.
Somebody else entirely that has a history of committing armed robberies in the same area.
The fingerprints belong to 54-year-old Jesse Perry, currently in prison for several other armed robberies. Paul, when you think about this, what if there hadn't been a hit? In fact, Royal Clark would still be innocent, but he'd still be in prison.
That is the tragedy. That is the nightmare.
So how did the eyewitness who identified Royal Clark get it so wrong?
Unfortunately, it happens all the time.
Nancy Franklin, a psychology professor at Stony Brook University, specializes in memory. Memory, she says, can be altered by time. What's more, the 2 men in mugshots have similar features.
That is a phenomenon called mugshot exposure effect.
Is it possible that this witness was actually remembering the mugshot?
Yes.
Well, then it makes sense why she would be so confident about pointing to Royal Clark.
Yes.
Just how difficult is it to correctly identify a stranger's face? Take a look at this man. Now choose him in this lineup.
It's challenging, huh?
Is the same man one of these 10? I'm gonna have to go with this one.
Okay. So you're picking 3, and you're misidentifying an innocent person. The right answer is that he's not there.
Do you think there are other Royal Clarks sitting in prison right now?
I'm sure of it. I'm sure there are.
On June 27th, one day after his 42nd birthday, Royal Clark walked out of prison with his now 17-year-old son by his side. Earlier this year, the Louisiana legislature passed a law to try to prevent these kinds of cases. So for the first time, memory experts will be allowed to testify at trial to try to educate jurors about the risk of eyewitness evidence. But that's
Mugshot exposure.
That mugshot test at the end's a real eye-opener.
Yeah, make the jury take that test, then they'll see just how reliable or unreliable it can be.
Well, they probably should, because I really thought, I was really careful. I thought I would get it right. I should point out that I did talk to the eyewitness in this case. She's now 35 years of age. She's devastated, and asked me not to include her in the piece because imagine she put this man behind bars. But I also think there's a real problem with the system that they would allow one eyewitness.
Yes, yeah,
For a
that is a
49-year
problem.
sentence.
To
They
carry
thought
that
they
much
had
weight.
two.
Yeah.
They thought they had two, and then one at trial wasn't as sure.
But I'm glad you pointed out it was the same race. That mugshot exposure is very scary.
Yeah.
Your heart goes out to Royal Clark, and special shout out to Kia Hayes of
Yeah,
the
Innocence Project, doing more good work.
Well
But
done.
his son is doing great. I
Yes.
should point
Happy
out
to hear
his son
that,
is a
too.
doll. So.
Aaron, thank you very much.
Thank you.